Hello everyone, and welcome to the first ChessBook Teaching live stream webinar, and thank you for joining me. In approximately 60 minutes, you'll learn why a story is the most empowering motivator for children's learning, how to serve children best so that we address their concept of understanding, and what the teaching steps are that make the learning really effective. I am going to be talking a lot, but the takeaway information will always be written so that it'll be easier for you to follow. So you see that in your screen. That is my PowerPoint that I'm sharing with you. Let's start. Apart from what you can read, I am Mia from Cool School. In our school, we use picture book stories, and from them we create projects and games that facilitate communicating in English. Because we, at our school, we teach English. The approach, however, is not fixed on the English language, but since I teach English, I'll explain today everything, what I do, how I do it in English language. So how we'll go about it, that's the first thing. First, we'll get the answer to the question, why stories? What is so special about stories to make such a big difference in children's knowledge when they learn? We'll talk about the parallel between the story structure on the one side, and then on the ChessBook teaching structure, which is the project approach I'm explaining to you right now. And after seeing this parallel, you might just start believing that what you're about to hear and going to hear makes perfect sense. And we'll delve into the ChessBook teaching steps. There are 5 of those steps, and well, there are actually 7. It depends which grade you are teaching, but we're going to talk about 5 steps today because we only address children aged 5 to 7 years old, where literacy is only briefly touched. If you stick to the end, I'm going to tell you where you can get some of the free material that support ChessBook teaching, and if you decide that what you've heard today, that the stories are really the very thing that you would like to use in your teaching practice, I'll tell you how and where you can learn more. So let's dive in. Why picture book stories? Well, picture book stories are the stories that establish a familiar content to children. Because their structure is very similar to our live events, adventures, they feel comfortable in them. Because children can easily relate to the characters that are in the story, and that makes a very, very strong emotional impact on them. And this emotional impact is actually a prerequisite for successful learning. It is known from the developmental psychology that children are motivated only when there is a strong feeling perception when they do activities or whatever they do. Stories do of that. And of course, the story is translated with illustrations, and illustrations, as we know, are universal language. I'm going to describe the parallel between the story structure and the ChessBook project structure. So story has a structure in 6 parts. First one is the opening. With the opening, we see what the story is about, what is the scene, what is the action, and who is in the story. Where is the plot taking place? Then we have the second part, which is the want. The second part is where the story's main character reveals their want. It's a driving mechanism for the entire story and the fuel of the story. And for children, it gives the entire meaning and the sense of whatever we are saying. The next part is the progress and the conflict. Usually, these 2 parts are put together, so then children see what the problem is that the character tries to solve in order to get to that want. So then we have the resolution. The resolution is the idea, the part when the idea comes through, the part when the main character gets their want. It is still not the end of the story, but the conclusion is usually the takeaway, which most picture book stories do not have it written down, but this is something beyond the story, either the idea, the message, the moral, depends on the picture book. So these 5 steps, or 6 because the progress and the conflict are usually joined together, are the story structure. And now let's have a look at the project structure, which bears a parallel. Equivalent to the opening, it is the introductory routine. With the introductory routine, we organize children in such a way to get them ready how to go on with the lesson. Not just for the oncoming lesson, but to get them ready for the entire schooling process. We, in a way, socialize them. So what does that even mean? It means that we, through the introductory routine, we introduce classroom rules. We teach children how to understand and how to follow the instructions, how to accept, tolerate, respect peers, and of course, us, teachers. Children here practice focus so that we can lengthen their concentration span. And finally, in the introductory routine, we practice the etiquette of the communication, which means how your pose is, how you look into each other's eyes when you speak to a person, how you can wait until the question is posed before you get the answer. So this is the opening of the project, which is called the introductory routine. The second part is the storytelling. The storytelling is the equivalent of the want that we have in the story. With storytelling, we introduce the learning environment. In that learning environment, children exercise what their wants are, what their desires are, what they want to learn. So we give them the option to choose, and they follow that part. Children find their own wants. Then we have the next part, which I called doodling. This is the teaching progress. Children become familiar. They do not yet learn. They just become familiar with the knowledge they are going to learn. I'm stressing out this familiar because only once being familiar with something can they learn what that familiar thing is. If children are not first introduced and become familiar with something, the learning will never take place. So this doodling part is also very important in the project structure. At some point, of course, there comes the moment where children need to learn. That is the elementary games step. In the elementary games, children learn and memorize vocabulary, chunks of words, language structures, grammar even. This is the part when we, teachers, and children stumble upon challenges, because this is the part where children really need to actually put some energy into getting the knowledge. This whole teaching process is the part where we work. That is the really working part. Once children learn and memorize the language, we then give them the takeaway. And the takeaway is use of language. It can be either the play of the story we've been presenting in the storytelling, or through the doodling process, children draw their own story, their own versions of the story, and while having the doodle in front of them, they are telling the story. Both ways, it is the use of vocabulary. What they have learned, they now put into a sort of structure and convey the message. So that is this take away. This is the part that we are going to delve really, really, really thoroughly into. This is the entire project that the teacher is doing. And this is what you're going to see is the 80% of the work that the teacher does before he goes into the classroom. And if the teacher does this part, then through the entire school year, there's only 20% of the action that needs still to be done. So this is what is your yearly preparation. Up there, you see in the dark orange the names of the project steps, and underneath you see in small letters, in small cases, the part what children get from each step. So in the introductory routine, children are practicing. In the storytelling, children are using whatever they have practiced in the introductory routine, and that helps them to understand what the story is about. Then we have the doodling part where children become familiar with the content. We delve deeper into our story, into our topic, if you will. After that, we have elementary games where children learn. This is where the learning takes place, where children memorize whatever we would like them to memorize. And then at the end, children use, at the last step, use what they have learned. This, what I have told you, is the way how you present the project to children. However, the teacher's approach is not this way. And what we're going to do now, we're going to go through all these project steps in a way that the teacher needs to address them in order to know what to bring in front of the children. So we start with the introductory routine. We have talked about the introductory routine a little bit before. As we said, through it we socialize our children. The introductory routine has 4 major aims. First aim is greeting, and the greeting ranges from simple, hello guys, how are you? Or can be a short song or a short activity, but the main aim of that is just to say hello. It shouldn't take more than, I don't know, 3-4 minutes. After that, we have the socialization part, which is the activity through which children practice body awareness, orientation in space, patience to wait their turn, sensory skills, which is eye contact, listening, touch. All this is really, really very important when we come to the point that we speak, when we communicate with one another. But first, children need to learn how to establish this socialization. And this here in the introductory routine, we do that through activities called socialization. The next part is focus and concentration. As I said before, we need to teach children, especially if they first come in the classroom with lots of other children, they need to learn how to focus and concentrate in order to understand what we're talking to them. And with that, we have an activity that combines the synchronization of the touching the body with the hands on certain parts of the body, speaking and rhythm, and all that needs to be in the repetitive sentence. Whereas the last part, communication, is the part where we teach them the etiquette of communication. That means your pose, your confidence, your body awareness, that they feel comfortable in their body when they speak. But mind you, every of those aims is very boring if it is just that aim. Usually we combine activities. So if we have greeting, we can do it with a song or with the focus and concentration activity. If we have socialization, we can also have communication covered. I know it is a lot of information now to process, so I would like to show you an activity I did with my children, how we do the greeting combined with focus and concentration.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Goodbye, goodbye. It's so nice to say goodbye, goodbye.
I'm going to show you how the activity focus and concentration works in order for children to practice how to prolong the concentration span. As I said, it is the combination of speaking, the rhythm, and synchronizing the speech and how you put your limbs on your body parts. We were introducing literacy to children, and I wanted to teach them how to be aware of the syllables. And because children needed to see how the word is divided into parts, I use this focus and concentration activity, 3 syllables, and we did it with a triangle, and we put this activity into the introductory routine. So it was like this: octopus, octopus, octopus. It's an animal, and we repeated this 3 or 4 times so that children needed really to repeat and repeat and repeat and focus very hard to say everything correctly and corally. It's really hard to synchronize the comments and the speaking and everything. So please bear with me. Okay, we have done the introductory routine. Here I would like to point out that I am having the live workshops, ChessBook Story Quadruplets, that I hold this school year, and the first will be focused on the introductory routine. So we will go really thoroughly about all the aims of the introductory routine, not just that, but how to structure the lesson so that the whole 45 minutes you really have introductory routine and that children practice all the aims in order to be socialized, to be ready for when you introduce the first project. So we've done the introductory routine. Let's say it is February, we have first graders, and now we would last project is the picture book. And how to do the picture book, how to tell the story from the beginning till the end in English. It is all really, really well presented in the PBA basic course. So I will not cover now the steps how to do the storytelling. Just I will basically go through what is the aim of the storytelling, okay? And the main aim of the storytelling steps is that you only introduce the story. You open the learning environment, if you will, because at this step, children need to get the gist of the story. They need to become familiar with what we are going to talk about so that they feel confident, that they feel relaxed, and that we establish that emotional impact, emotional involvement that we need to get from children in order to be ready for learning. If they are not emotionally involved, you can play monkey in front of the classroom and they will not learn. You need to get that part to get them emotionally involved. And the story, as I have shown before, because it has the same structure as our life rhythm, can do that really, really easily. And through those steps, pre-storytelling, storytelling, and post-storytelling, there's also in the PBA basic course explained how you engage children to help you narrate the story. When you get them to narrate the story, or at least act out some parts of the story, it means, yay, I got them emotionally involved, so we are on the right path. Post-storytelling activity, I'm going to stress out here, is actually the second reading of the story. Most of the time, it is a retelling of the story where children, while the teacher is narrating, are acting the story out. And this way, the teacher sees whether they have understood the idea of the story. But as I said, the detailed demonstration of the storytelling is in our PBA basic course. Regarding the ChessBook Story Quadruplets, in the second workshop that we'll have, we are going to do this storytelling part, but not to go the steps how to do pre-storytelling, how to do storytelling, and how to do post-storytelling, you will be put in the position that we usually put children to see how to work, how the process of group work functions. And at the same time, you will learn some of the tricks how to boost your creativity. It is not me who is going to have this workshop, but Mrs. Nastya Muley. You know her, come to this workshop because you really, really need to know. She's really amazing. Okay, with storytelling, it is listening, of course, because most of the thing is the listening that children do. I can't really say it's speaking. It is a gap fill speaking. If there are some words that children help you with when you narrate the story, but the important thing, and very, very important thing, is reading. Because at this point, children start with literacy, even if they are 4 years old, because what they're doing, they are reading the illustrations. As I said, that the picture book, the story, brings children the complex environment. They do not see lots of parts, they only see the message. And the same goes with the illustrations. The illustration in the story is very complex. There is very many information on them. And what children see is the message of that illustration. They read it through pictures, and what is best part is they also see details in those pictures that we teachers support with language. And this is how we make this transition from the concrete, from the visual, gradually to the abstract, to the language. So illustrations are very important, and also in the basic course it is explained how to choose the picture book in order to facilitate this picture reading. So introductory routine and the storytelling are the first two parts that we do the same as we introduce to children. But now comes the point where we first need to get clear in our minds what our aims are. So we need to know what our end game with the project is in order to be aware what we need to do with the doodling and what we need to do with the elementary games. What are children going to do with the language? And this is our next part. With 5 to 7-year-old children, you can do this post-storytelling activity. That is the role play of the story in a social game-like way where children are put on the stage and they communicate with one another in such a way that they tell the story. This is called the social game. And the best part of this is, don't give them the script to memorize by heart. We have doodling and we have elementary games to prepare them, to teach them, so that when comes the use of language, you simply put them on stage and they improvise and they speak. Maybe you don't believe me, but on Monday and Tuesday, I have 2 days with children where we're going to go through all these 5 steps with the 2 teachers who I'm coaching. And I'm going to record that. And at one point, I'm going to show you what they can do only in 1 day if you go through all these steps. So social game is one end game of this project, and the next one is narration of the story. It means that children, through the doodling process, they create a picture story, and at the end they look at their doodle, I call it doodle, look at the pictures, and they narrate the story. And this is the second part that you can achieve with children aged 5 to 7. So these are the 2 aims I want to get with the one picture book. For the social game, I, as a teacher, need to prepare the script in which there is a dialogue. What I would like children to say, so that from that dialogue, I create elementary games where children practice those dialogues. And with the doodle story, what I as a teacher need to do is write down the story, structure text with the introduction, body, and the conclusion, and mark the parts where there is a point where children can add their own vocabulary, their own ideas. When we come to the doodling part, I'm going to explain this part. So, you know what you want to achieve. Maybe with this project, I just want to achieve a social game, so you just do the script. You don't need to do the text. Or with the next project, you say, now children are going to narrate the story that I have presented them through storytelling. I am going to write a text to help them with the doodling. So now that we have in our minds clear what our end game of the project is, where children are going to do lots and lots and lots of speaking, some picture reading, and no writing, because at the age of 5 to 7, I don't force them to write yet. And they will probably need some of our support, and we'll give them the instructions what to do if they stumble. So they'll need a little bit of listening to understanding and following the instructions. The fourth workshop in the quadruplet is focused on how to use elementary games in order to make the social game, and all about how to write the script. So you are welcome to join me. Now let's go to doodling. Drawing a doodle is a set of activities that is spread across, I don't know, it depends on the story, on the complexity of the story, but I don't know, 15 lessons at least you need to devote to doodling, but not just doodling, because children will get bored. You combine doodling with elementary games, and maybe you do another, if there is Christmas in between, you do another storytelling just for the sake of storytelling. But to complete the doodle, it will take approximately 15 lessons to do it properly. And through doodling, children re-experience the story. So this is the doodle from the story. I am sure you well know, because I use this picture book a lot. This is Oliver. And in this picture book, the original story, Oliver is chasing the leaf. So I wrote down exactly the same story that is in the picture book, but I marked the parts where children do the variation of the story. For instance, if my Oliver is chasing the yellow leaf, or here in the picture it is the brown leaf, I leave it to children to choose that it can be a yellow leaf, a red leaf, or why not a bird or a bee. If Oliver is running down the hill into the forest and gets lost in the forest, why not running across the meadow and splashing into the river? So these are the parts. When I write a story, I mark out, and when we do the doodling, I narrate a story. I stop at the point where children can fill in their own ideas. Also, the doodling is really well explained in both basic course and literacy course. In both these courses, you can see how the doodling works, because you have two ways how the doodling works. You can focus on the entire story, or you can focus only on the skeleton of the story, the 6 sentences that the story is based on. I will not delve, because it's really a complex thing and we don't have enough time to delve into doodling. So what the important thing about the doodling is that while doing the doodling, children really become involved in the story, become familiar with the story. They know what vocabulary there is, what topics, what language there is, and how, most importantly, how all these language parts are combined together in a mind map information net, in so-called mind map information net, but only here it is done in the pictures. And this is also how the children see how they can use the pictures as a support for narrating the story. So again, they have pictures, and pictures are children's dictionary. In the higher grades, 8 and 10, we use the doodle also to introduce literacy, and that is explained in our PBA literacy course. I'm going to also share with you the screen where you can actually download. You don't need to write your doodles yourself. If you go to the website, our Cool School website, there you have on the top of it, this is our address, Cool School EU. So you go to the teaching material and you have doodles there. You have stories, lots of pre-drawn material already, no strings attached. You just get there and download it. You have nature, animals, colors, environment. You have society. You can also make maze master. There's a maze master. You can also create your own maze for the activities that you need. Just go and search a little bit what you can find on our website and see what interests you. So, as I said, doodling, children become familiar with the language, connecting the vocabulary with different topics, understanding the use of vocabulary, and if children are older, 8, 9, we can also teach them grammar, introduce grammar and spelling using the doodle. Addressing the language skills, here children really practice listening, focused listening, because we introduce gap fill reading. So we tell the story and we stop. For instance, I say, this is my Oliver, and Oliver is chasing. Then I stop, and children fill in a bird if they have drawn a bird. So they listen, they speak, gap fill speaking, and at the same time they are reading the picture. Once children have become familiar with the topics, the language, how everything is connected together, then comes the part where children really need to learn, and that is elementary games. When we wrote the script, the dialogue, how we predict children are going to speak, what language they're going to be using, we divide that script, then create those parts of dialogue into games. I'm going to tell you what the games, how to create the games just in a while, because we are approaching the end of our presentation already. And these games always need to be in the context of the project story. Because this is, if they are in the context of the project story, then you will have absolutely no problem putting them on stage and make them present the social game. If you are not connecting that with the project story and they just learn the vocabulary for the learning's sake, then you will not achieve the end game, the use of language, but they will be very, very good at listing all the names of the animals, all the names of the clothes, but they will not be able to put it in a message. So this is really, really important that when you do games, you put them in a context of the project story, and you base that games on the social game you created with the script. As I said, the fourth workshop at the quadruplets workshop is going to be devoted for the elementary games, how to gamify them, and how to create a script from the picture book. By the way, you're going to work in groups. It depends how many you're going to be attending the workshop, but more groups, more material you will get for your, to take them into classroom and to use them for your program. So regarding elementary games, we children learn, memorize vocabulary, chunks of words, grammar, some language structure. So there it is speaking, lots of speaking, and of course lots of listening, because when we explain how the game is played, they need to understand instructions. I'm going to first just tell you what the game is, how you can define what is the difference between the game and the activity, because every activity is not a game, but every game is an activity. The most important thing when you turn the activity into a game is that the participants need to have fun and that there is a win. If a win has an educational purpose, then the win is the knowledge. If a game has an educational purpose, then the win is the knowledge. And the really needed ingredients in the gamification is that it has a goal. So the goal for the educational purpose is the knowledge. So my goal is I want children to know how to answer when somebody comes to them and say, come play with me. So I'm going to turn an activity into a game where the goal is they need to learn the question, please, can you play with me? And the answer is going to be either yes or no or maybe later. So this is my goal when I do an activity. Participants need to play voluntarily. So you present the game and then you say, who wants to play? Some children will jump in, yes, me. Some will be observing from a side. And while the game is going to be in a progress, gradually they will drop in because they will see that there is no harm in playing in a game, and you're going to have voluntary participants. There needs to be interaction. It means that it is not the teacher who speaks, excuse me, it is not the teacher who speaks the dialogue, but they are children. There are rules, of course, and consequences if they don't follow the rules. There is an outcome, which is a win. Many can win. It's not that just one who is the first one there wins. No, everybody that makes a dialogue, that makes the contact, it depends on what your goal is a winner. It has a time frame, so you have the limited time how long they can play, and it has to be playable. It means that when you present this activity, if you see that children are not engaged, make a new game. Then it is not a game. But mind you, when you first explain the rules with a game, it is not yet playing the game. Children are still becoming familiar with the rules. So you play first time, second time, third time, and only the fourth time it's going to be a game. And then you play the game 6, 7, 8 times, and then you see that they get bored, and then you need to stop. This is the rhythm with every game. And I'm going to wrap it up and give you some freebies where you can get some free material if you want to learn in depth about the ChessBook Teaching Approach, where you can get that. But first, what have we learned today? Why is this ChessBook teaching so much better than the traditional teaching? Or what, maybe to put it this way, what the traditional teaching, when you're using course books or workbooks, lacks? So, comfort. They need to feel comfortable. That they are in the known. When you bring the context, the content, the story, children are in the know. Children know what is going on. There are only parts, little pieces, the language parts and maybe the vocabulary parts that they don't know. But this is not important for them because they know they are in the known regarding the big pictures. They know the stories about it. They know what's going on around them. This is the known which the story brings, and just the topic of clothes doesn't, and for instance, and is boring. The story is complex, and it brings the complex environment. Because it is the complex environment, it boosts children's action. And once they are in action, they are motivated. If they're motivated, of course, they're open to understanding, to learning, and they're open to communication. And this is what this structure, these 5 steps that I've shown you, are so good about, because they really bring children step by step without knowing that they are learning to the use of language to the knowledge. And as I said, if you want to learn more, because this was really a brief presentation of those 5 steps. I had, in the beginning of August, I had coaching with 2 teachers, and we devoted one entire day for each step. And those 4 workshops, the quadruplets that I'm offering to you for this school year, are part of this coaching that I had. We are gonna go through those steps thoroughly, not entire day, but 6 hours, and that is enough that you will really get the feeling of it. But to really get the best out of those workshops, I suggest that you go and look into the PBA basic course, where you will, with this, if I use a terminology I have just used with how we address the knowledge with children, you will be in the familiar zone, in the comfortable zone, because you will know what I am going to talk about, and you will be able to really deepen the knowledge of the ChestBook Teaching Approach. The literacy course, I suggest that you leave for later once these basics are clear to you. And once you go through the entire process, that you do 2 or 3 projects with your children, then I think you are ready to go a step up into the literacy course. There's also the PBA mini course where you can hang on, just the mini course where you can see the way of thinking, the way of this project thinking is explained. It is free, so you can just go sign up and watch it. This is the landing page that you come on our website. If you just scroll down, here are the courses. Okay, enroll. Another window opens, and there you sign up and you can enroll into the course. The good thing is these courses are actually your manual for teaching, because once you enroll, once you sign up, once you purchase, you have lifetime access to it. You can download the free. It's like a little brochure where the project is outlined, where you have all those 6 sentences out. You have the text, the doodling text ready. You get the doodle ready. You have material that you can get and that you can start working with the project. And this How to Catch a Falling Star is a great story that you start now in September, because it is the autumn scene in there. Okay, and this is the link where you can sign up for this year's workshop, where I am going to really delve into the steps, some of the steps that I have explained to you during this presentation. Well, then, if there is no questions, I really kindly invite you first to go to my website, to browse through it, to see what I can offer to you for free, and to get you motivated to see how well you can work in your classroom with the ChestBook Teaching Approach. And if you decide that this is really what you would like to do, if you really want to bring best to your children and at the same time really professionally grow, because it is not something that you learn in 1 hour, in one afternoon, but you really progress. You really make a great progress in your profession, in your professional life, if you delve into this project approach called ChestBook Teaching. I kindly thank you for participating. Hope you will watch the recording again, share it with others, and hope to see you in the workshops. Bye.